Hi there guys, it's Pip here from pipwheatley.com. So today I want to talk to you about what to do if you like your job but you do feel that you can do more. What are your options? So I've written down 9 options that you could actually do, and I just want to talk about the pros and the cons with you. Now I am going to do a blog post on this as well, so do feel free to visit me at my website, which is pipwheatley.com. You can always contact me there, and of course always feel free to ask me any questions below, and of course comment and subscribe. But we'll go through these today, and hopefully they'll help make things a bit clearer for you. So I'm going to work through these in terms of least preference for me personally to most preferred, and I'll go through why that is. So here we go, we'll start off with number 9. So number 9, which is bottom of the list, is stay and do nothing. So I'll go through the pros first, and then I'll go through the downsides. So the positives of that is it's easy, you don't have to do anything. So you might be in a job where you're quite happy with the environment. You know, it's a nice office, it's nice people, you know, you've got a coffee machine, you know, it's a good canteen, you like the structure of the day, you like the pay, maybe there's good staff benefits, and you know, it's that familiarity, it's that you're comfortable, and you know, you don't have to put any effort into not changing. Now of course there's a huge downside of that, which is of course nothing's going to change. Like the late Jim Rohn said, he said unless you change something, it's not going to change. So that will just mean that the frustration that you have is not going to go away. If you don't do anything, that emotion could actually get worse for you, and it's likely that you might end up making quite a rash decision. You might end up suddenly you know, feeling the need to break away, and it can get quite desperate really. So that would be my least preferred option. Obviously you have to make the decision on this, on what's best for you, but that would be bottom of the list for me. So the next thing I've got here is do some part-time work. The reason that's quite bottom of the list is, again, I'll explain this to you, but first of all, as I say, I'll go through the positives. So benefits of part-time work is obviously you have more money, you do get paid for learning new skills. It might include some development that maybe your current place of work is not giving you, and of course it's self-investment. You know, you're learning new skills, it's another string to your bow, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. However, there are of course the downsides, and those downsides would be, although you are getting paid more, you are still giving your time for money, and that means if you work shifts or your part-time work shifts, you might end up coming home and literally having to turn around and get straight out again, and that is not actually that good for you long term. You can very easily overwork yourself. I've certainly done it before, and I just think it's not necessarily beneficial for your health or necessarily for relationships. If you have, you know, a partner or kids, or you know, there's something that in particular that you like to do in your free time and you want to reserve your free time for that. So it is a balancing of lifestyles, and the other thing that you have to consider is, although you will get paid more, you might end up paying more tax. So is it worth it for you? You also have to bear in mind that your part-time job might want you to be quite flexible. It does obviously take time to apply for these jobs, but when you do apply, they might ask you to be flexible, and you might not be able to do that if you already have a current job going, and so you might be pulled out from both sides, from the current place of work that you already have and you need a part-time job as well, so do just consider that. So as I say, that would be the 8th on my list. So number 7 would be do a college course. Now, as I said, this is just a personal preference. If you have a certain skill that you really want to learn, my advice would be to go for it. I did a college course this January. It was an introduction to counselling course. It was a 10-week course in the evening. It was actually very, very insightful, and I would say if you know that you need to gain more skills but you don't want to lose your job, college is a fantastic way, okay? So that is one of the positives of it. It can be quite exciting as well to learn something new. Again, variety is the spice of life. It's again self-investment, and you meet some really, really great and interesting people. It might give you a really great and new lease of life. It's always good to connect with people who have the same passions and interests as you. Now, some of the downsides of that is obviously it does often cost. You do have to afford your travel there. You have to make sure that you can get there. You do have to often put in some work at home. Now, if you don't mind that, that's absolutely fantastic, but please bear in mind that that will be required, especially if it's an evening course. And those are just some of the downsides. You've got to do it long term. As I say, with my counselling course, that was just an introduction, so the next course would have been a year long, the next course after that would have been a year and a half long to be at what's known as a level 4 qualification, which is the minimum qualification needed to be a practicing counsellor in this particular profession. So you do have to obviously be self-reliant, and you might have to buy a few books as well, which is again not a major negative, but do just something to bear in mind. So the next thing I've got here is stay and find training. So stay at your current workplace and find training. Now again, this might give you a wonderful new lease of life, but if you have been struggling to find training, I would say you get to a certain point where you have to look elsewhere and accept that your place of work is not the only place. The pros, of course, is there's a lot less boredom. It's self-investment. You feel more kind of competent in yourself. It boosts your self-esteem. It makes you feel good. It can often be a leading word for your colleagues if they didn't know certain training was available. It shows you shows your company that you really have something to offer. It's a safe option, and of course you often have skills that are transferable. So if you do gain some skills and you still find that you're not being able to apply them to your role or to a new role, you can of course leave your current job with those skills and find a similar job, and you're more likely to get employment because you have invested within yourself, so you take those skills with you. Now of course there are some downsides, so training might be slow. I've certainly worked in workplaces where there has to be a certain number of staff wanting a particular training course, or it's an external trainer, so they're booked up and it takes them a while to come in, or you have to book time off your work schedule to do training, which I've always found a bit bizarre. Training can also be quite limited. There might be quite a range available, but do make sure that it's in an area that you really want to go into. Just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should. So for me, if I wanted to do some training on, I don't know, farming, that probably wouldn't be ideal for me. I'm just not part of that lifestyle. It just doesn't appeal to me. So do make sure that it's something that really, really resonates with you, and do bear in mind that it may be limited at your workplace. You might have to look elsewhere for something that really resonates with you. You might find that you do the training and your company doesn't allow you to move into a position where you can use that training. That's always really frustrating. Again, it is a form of self-investment though, so there are swings and roundabouts on that. Do also bear in mind that when you do this training, the opposite might happen, and you might find suddenly that you have more responsibility because you're suddenly deemed more capable. Another minor downside, and don't let this get to you, is certain work colleagues can get a bit jealous to find that you're investing in yourself, especially if they've been stuck in a rut as well. So do just be mindful of that. It's their problem, not yours, but it can happen in workplaces where we are so close to one another. It's just a human reaction. It's often not personal, so don't take it to heart, but do just bear in mind that that can sometimes happen. So the next thing I would go on to is probably leave and find a new job. So again, what are the positives? Well, what a fabulous opportunity. It's not easy these days to find a new job, especially if you come from, like myself, a low-paid job. As I say, I am a cleaner, and there's plenty of people out there that can clean. So they don't, it's not, there's no limited pool for my area of expertise. It can be quite tough to get a new job. There is quite a tough kind of, or competitive, should I say, interview process. Me and my manager were recruiting for someone else to be in my department in January, and we had about 40 applicants for one cleaning job, so it can be quite tight as well. Having said that, it's a lot better than being stuck. You might find that you have a job in the same industry. This actually happened to my brother recently. He works as a chemical analyst, and he was working for a company. I'm not going to name them, but they do oil analysis. They work with freight and haulage, airlines as well, to make sure that when they get things like oil in and other things that are needed for the engines, that it's of the right viscosity, so it's not too thick, it's not too thin, it's not going to leak out your engine, it's not going to get into places where you don't want it to be, and that it's of the right grade as well, so it's the best quality that the airline or the freight company can get for their money. And also as well, he worked to make sure that oil that was coming out of ships and things weren't contaminated. So if you get oil out of a ship and it's got water in it, probably means that your ship isn't going to stay afloat that much longer. Now, he got to a point where he found that ceiling effect. He moved jobs. He's now got a new job in a very, very similar industry, and they pay him a lot more, and the working conditions are a lot better, and there's more training available. So it's definitely something worth considering. Now, of course, do bear in mind, of course, when you're going for a job, make sure you know what you want. Again, don't put yourself back in the position where you're with a new company and you're still, the situation is still kind of the same. It does involve a lot of uncertainty. Being unemployed is not necessarily fun. Obviously, try and look for a job whilst you're still in a job. That would be my advice. So the next thing, getting closer to the number 1 at the top there, would be, and this is number 4 here, and I've put leave and go and explore, kind of take a gap year. So again, what are the positives? Well, again, what a fabulous, amazing, exciting opportunity. How incredible to get to a point where it's kind of like retiring early in a way, for a year or for 6 months, or however long you want to do it. And they say traveller's education, that is so true. And there's just so many things life has to offer us. And I just think that if you can afford to do it, and you feel like you need to just explore who you are a bit more and build on your own life experience, what a fabulous thing to do. Now the downsides are, of course, you do have to travel. You have to do something with that year to make the most of it, and there's not going to be any guidance necessarily for you. Now, of course, there's things like Lonely Planet. There's lots of travel blogs, and there are people out there who are kind of experts. There's obviously travel companies you can go with, lots of organisations, charity organisations that do amazing things, particularly out in third world countries, and just wonderful stuff. But it can be expensive. You do need to do a lot of research to find that guidance and mentorship. If you're travelling solo, you have to be extremely self-reliant. It can be quite lonely at times, language barriers. Sometimes just being in foreign cultures can be a bit overwhelming, make you feel a little bit homesick. So make sure you have a plan. That would be my advice, so that you always know where you're going on to. So if you're not enjoying it, you know that you're moving on, and if you are enjoying it, you're not having to worry about what's going to be next. You've already planned that in advance, so you can enjoy it 100%. The other thing is, of course, when you do have to go back to employment at some point, unless of course you create your own online business and then you can work from anywhere, and you do usually have to explain to your new employer what it is you've been doing in that time. Now, if you're naturally wanting to go out and do that sort of thing, then you'll have lots to talk about, so don't let that hold you back at all. So the next thing I've put here is number 3. So we're into the top 3 now, top 3 options. So here we are. I put build a brick and mortar business. So that doesn't appeal to everybody. It wouldn't actually appeal to me. You obviously have to put up a lot of investment up front, but first of all, as I say, I'd like to talk about the positives. So a brick and mortar business is a great way for you to take whatever you are passionate about and make it into reality. What an incredible way to live, doing something that you love that's also making you money, so that you can do more of what you love, and it's often a great way to invest in yourself. You can gain so much confidence, so many skills, and there is a lot of training out there. I'm sure there's a lot of magazines and things that will help you to discover the best way to do that. So YouTube, Google are obviously a great way. LinkedIn to forge some connections, see how other people are doing that. Another great thing is if you are, you are your own employee, so I don't think you're going to fire yourself, but that's a wonderful thing. You're not having to always conform to somebody else's expectations. You set the rules, you set the expectations, you decide what you want to go where, and any kind of progress you make or any success you have, that's because of you. That's because you did something. That's because of your hard work. And often it's a great way as well if friends and family are struggling in the jobs, they're not passionate, or they're unemployed, or it looks like they're going to be unemployed. You can hire whoever you want. So if you want to bring in your friends and family, you can do that. So, and again, it could be a great opportunity to do something you love with the people that you love, and it's helping you to sustain your lifestyle. Amazing. Now, there are the downsides I'm going to talk about now. So number 1, upfront investment. Very, very costly. Do not expect to invest and make it back in the first year. Do bear in mind that with a brick and mortar business, you do have to invest in advertising constantly, and there will be competition, maybe locally, maybe on online business, maybe supermarkets, which seem to sell everything nowadays, eBay, Amazon, that sort of thing. Maybe there's going to be an issue with bills to start off with it whilst you're building your capital. You know, you also have to start in the red to you know, kind of get back into the black, and there is going to be a deficit to start off with, but you're also going to have to pay the rent and the bills. The other thing to bear in mind is as well, when you have a physical product, it can be seasonal, so there might be certain times of year when sales fluctuate, okay? And bear in mind that you still have to pay the bills as a constant, so you have to be able to know how to kind of move your business plan to adjust to those changes, and to things like the finance market. There's a lot of uncertainty at the minute with Brexit and things. People are not sure, you know, are we heading for a recession? People are being a bit uncertain about where to spend their money at certain times. Obviously there's times when there's a massive boom, Black Friday, Christmas, you know, that kind of thing. So there's pros and cons, but really make sure that you sit down. If you've got a financial advisor as well, or you are great with figures, really sit down and do the maths. You don't want to start investing in something that you love and then have to abandon it because you've cut yourself short, okay? So be serious and be realistic as well, but that is something that I think is more possible for everybody than we realise. So if that's you, go for it. Number 2, a franchise. Again, I'm not sure this would be top of the list for me. Again, it's very similar to owning your own business, so you do have to invest a lot up front. Again, it's to do with the bill, so pretty much as we discussed in owning your own business. It is a little bit easier because you've got a recognised brand, something that people already associate with. Because of that, do bear in mind that you might get a lot of customers quite quickly once things are set up, so it might be slow, and then you have a massive influx of people. You've got to be ready for that. And you are still kind of tied to company policies and things like that, so there's pros and cons. You've got that support, but you've also then, you do sacrifice a little bit of the control, so pros and cons, swings and roundabouts. And the number one thing, here we go, number one, and I put this just because it's what I did, so owning your own business. So for me, as I say, I'm a digital entrepreneur. I have an online business. My business is mainly for young people, kind of 18 to 30-year-olds, although it can appeal to anybody. And my business is helping people realise their full potential and help them make the transition towards owning their own business like I did. There's a company that I work with, well, they help me, they provide all the training, all the support, all the mentoring. They're absolutely fantastic. I want to let more people know about them. If you do want to know more, I'm not going to talk about it here, but do feel free obviously to visit me at my website, Wheatley.com. You can find out more there. And it's just, it's a wonderful way. I've gained so many skills already. I have a better sense of independence. I know I'm going to make more finance in the future, because I've constantly got that support around me, and that training and that mentorship, and especially that support when you're thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing, this isn't for me, I'm making the wrong decision. It's just fantastic. And again, it's like having a brick and mortar business, but having an online business is doing the exact same, doing your passion, but it's not half the costs. It's just, you don't have to, you can work from home at any hour that you want. You don't have to pay anybody else's wages but your own if you don't want to. Your team can be as big as small as you want to. You can go into any area, online service, consultancy. You might be somebody who specialises in advertisements, maybe that's your niche. Maybe you have, a physical product. Maybe you're selling, education, an education service. maybe you want to start designing your own product or your own brand. Maybe you want to go into, I don't know, gym fitness and protein shakes. I mean, there's so many people online as well to hook up and, you know, link with, and obviously there's sort of social media platforms to advertise on, and to really get the word out there. You've got a global market. It's not just relying on people coming off the streets in one town. You can go anywhere, and so many people are, you know, buying online now in this digital age, especially young people, because that's something that they've kind of grown up with a lot more. Now of course there are downsides, so I'm not going to be too prejudiced about that, but the downsides are personal responsibility again, such a huge learning curve, something that I'm still learning in fact, and you do change as a person, usually a lot for the better, but you do have to bear in mind that your results are your results, so anything that goes wrong, you kind of have to be able to suck it up and say, I'm going to learn from that. It's okay, I made a mistake, it's not the end of the world, but I need to learn from that. And then on the plus side as well, any successes are again your own. It does still require investment, time and finance. It does mean that sometimes you have to make points in your day to say, I need to do work on my business now. And it takes time for the people around you to get used to what you're doing as well. That's what I've discovered. So whatever it is you do, it is a huge learning curve. So those are my top 9 things that you can do if you are in a job, you like your job but you feel a little bit stuck and you're just looking for something a bit different that's going to help you invest in yourself but also going to bring you income as well.